Welcome to the Beyond Sunday podcast, brought to you by the Azalea City Church of Christ and your hosts, Terry Cagle and Justin Barnes. Join us as we discuss faith-based living.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Beyond Sunday. What a blessing this has been for Justin and myself, and just hope and pray that it's been a blessing for you. Literally, that is our prayer, that God will use us as a platform to be able to get some good words out to you that will, as the title says, help everybody go from Sunday to beyond Sunday.
Right.
And that's really what the Christian life is. In my class last night, the verse came up where Jesus says, and Luke records it, take up your cross daily and follow me. And that we're just reminded that we do have to go beyond Sunday. And so through this adventure that you've been with us now, we really put an emphasis on community, because we believe that that's exactly what the church is meant for, that we can not only be together on Sunday, but go beyond Sunday as a community. We've talked about a lot of things. And so last week, really talking about not quitting. And so we're hoping that if you're still here with us, you haven't quit.
That's right.
And so today we want to talk about, maybe you're ready to ask this question. All right, I like the community. I'm working on not having the convenience. I'm working on community. I'm working on not being isolated, not trying to hear Satan when I'm tempted to give up. So the question I have now, guys, is where do I fit in?
You know, this title for us is finding your place.
Right.
Where are we fitting in? And we have to give prompts to people, because this is now a couple of podcasts where people have said, hey, I loved what you guys talked about last week or this week. How about this? Or, hey, I know how you can build off of what you guys talked about last week. So
That's awesome.
this came from a listener. I'm going to say Jeff.
That's fine.
I hope that's okay. Sorry, Jeff. I'll beg for forgiveness right on this.
First
right?
shout out, right?
Yeah. Hey, here we go. But Jeff just said, hey, what if you guys discuss a little bit about finding your place? And it is such a great topic, because a lot of times when we look at ourselves, and I think maybe this is a humbled nature, that we don't want to talk about what we're good at. We don't want to come across arrogant and tell people, oh, well, I'm really talented here, I'm really good here. So we maybe tend to tell more people where we're not good, kind of some of our shortcomings. I'll go to Matthew 25. And I think this is important for us all to hear. And this is a parable of the talents. And Sergey last night did our devotional, did a great job and talked about, parables, these earthly stories that Jesus presents with us that have this heavenly meaning, that means so much more, and that we can glean so much from. Well, in the story, not to read the entire story, there are three men that this landowner, this master, gives some talents to, that he wants them to take and go invest them, to use them to help further that talent pool. You had a 5-talent man, you had a 2-talent man, you had a 1-talent man. And we know, if you've heard the story, I'm sure all of you have heard the story many times by now, is that the 5-talent man, the 2-talent man did just that. They went, they invested it, they used it wisely, they both doubled their investment, doubled those talents. Well, the 1-talent man was, I don't know. I mean, he was nervous, obviously. He was worried that I'm going to go out and invest this talent and I'm going to lose everything. And my master's going to, I know you're a hard master. You're going to be mad at me. You're going to cast me out. All these things probably going through his mind. I think, and certainly I think there's a lot of us nowadays, we compare ourselves. We talked about the dangers of the comparison theory. That we'll compare ourselves with other people.
Maybe talk a little bit more about that later on.
Sure. That this 1-talent man looks and says, I'm not a 5-talent man, I'm not a 2-talent man. What good can I do? So I'm going to go bury my talents. And we talk a lot in Bible classes and in church of, hey, let's not bury our talents. And so all that to say, it is very important for us to find our place. It is also very important to glean from the story that Jesus never describes a man with no talents.
Exactly. Everybody has at least one, right?
At least one. And God created us in His image. God created us, knitted us together in our mother's womb. He created us just like He wants us. And there's going to come a time where I think what when we are at our best is that we're finding, or where we can find our place is discovering what God has given us and allowing that to intersect with what somebody needs. And if I can discover what God has blessed me with, what talent, right? I can't sing. I'm not going to, well, I can sing. That's right. I'm not a song leader.
Right.
That is not my place
to
step up and to do, right? I'm not, you talked about Sergey last night of giving up and delivering a devotional in a second language, and that some people struggle with the first language, right. And I raised my hand quickly, right? I'm not the best orator. I'm not the best, vocalizer, but I also found a way, because people had confidence in me and pushed me at a younger age, that I overcame that fear of standing in front of people.
Sure.
Right. And I can tell you about Miss Phyllis Bryant, who's no longer with us, but had a huge impact on me standing in front of people, not for the first time, but finding some inner confidence. And I can tell you, God put her in my life for a reason, and helped propel me to maybe where I am today, and helping, do a podcast with you that's reaching millions upon millions of people, right? That we're in episode 5 now. Like, we are cruising, guys. Yeah. No, but all that to say is that God really does not create anybody without talent.
That's right.
And that we need to understand, find that talent, and find how that talent can bless other people. And that's really how we find our place in the church and in our communities.
Sometimes in counseling, will have someone who's struggling with low self-esteem. I give them an assignment to come back for homework, list 10 things that you're good at. The first thing they do is break out in a cold sweat, because when you have low self-esteem, the last thing you want to do is look at yourself and say, I'm good at this. Yeah. But I think all of us need to do that assignment. We need to sit back and say, what am I good at? And even before you sign up for anything or go to do anything, there's something very, very important that we need to remember, is that this podcast, in essence, is about being a part of the community. Yeah. And so we do want all of the millions. I put quotes around it if you're not watching at home.
If people can't catch our sarcasm, right?
All the millions that are tuning in, we want them to be at worship. We want them to be a part of a community at wherever they live. And so that being said, sometimes when you walk into a place and there's a crowd, I know even for me, even though people may think, oh, well, Terry, likes to talk and he's this and he's that. Sometimes when I walk into a crowd, I'm intimidated and my anxiety takes over. And so I do speak because I'm nervous. Yeah. But that being said, it can be intimidating to go to a place like that. But here's the very first thing I want you to remember is this. You belong.
Yes.
Everybody belongs. No matter how much money you have, no matter how much popularity you had in school, no matter how many talents you think you have, everybody belongs in the body of Christ. And here's the beautiful thing about the body. Paul paints such a great picture in 1 Corinthians chapter 12. And I'm going to encourage you to study sometime 1 Corinthians 12 through 27. We won't talk about the whole thing, but it is a great, great picture of what we're trying to say as far as everybody belongs and everybody has a part. You got to remember that the body of Christ, which is the church, which is the community we're talking about, that neighborhood feeling, if you will, the head of it is Jesus Christ. And so Jesus, being the head of the church, he died for everyone. So everyone belongs in his body. Paul even says at the end of that reading, 1 Corinthians 12:27, now you are the body of Christ and individually members of it. Think about your hand. Think about your toes. Think about eyebrows. I use that all the time. Sometimes you might wonder, why do I have eyebrows? What's their purpose? Well, go outside here in August and you're going to get sweat in your eyes. But think how much sweat you get in your eyes if you didn't have eyebrows. Everything has a purpose, right? Everybody has a place. Whether it's your pinky toe, your pinky finger, your ears, your hair, whatever it may be, there is a place for it. And so before Paul even talks about understanding your role, he wants us to remember that we belong to the body. So instead of just diving into, where am I supposed to serve? What ministry fits me? What am I the best at? And we do want you to think about those things, but maybe you need to remember, hey, God placed me here. And then remember verse 18 of that same chapter, 1 Corinthians 12. But as it is, God arranged the members in the body. Listen to this. Each one of them as he chose. We're chosen by the Creator.
So the very next verse, I'm just reading along as you're reading here. I didn't have this necessarily in any of my notes, but verse 19, it says, if we were all a single member, where would the body be? So if we were all the exact same, it's not good. Like it's not beneficial to the body. So us all being different and uniquely different is where the body has the chance to be at its best. And
when community's at its fullest. You're right.
So you guys have no idea what time we're doing this. I'm a little later than I told Terry I would be here today to do this podcast, all because I had a meeting, and that meeting went a little bit longer than I anticipated. And you talks about how there in verse 18 about how God chose us and God arranged us, and there are I think I can look at my life, you can look back at your life, and all of the people that I've had the pleasure of interacting with, or people that have mentored me and led me. All of that, I can look back 20, 30 years and I can see how God has had his hand in all of it, right?
Absolutely.
And yes, I'm a creature of free will. I am a free moral agent. I can make my own choices. God's going to allow me to do that. But God desires all of us, right, to be in his care and to be in his presence.
Absolutely.
I just had a conversation with a guy, and we were having a meeting. It was nothing spiritually. And as we were talking about this, that, and another, and exchanging some stories, and he told me, and I don't know how spiritual of a guy this is, right? But he told me, he said, I didn't know you were going to be here today, but God had allowed us to cross paths. And we knew each other, so it's not like it was a complete surprise.
Right.
But it struck me when we were having this conversation. He said that, and I'm like, you better believe it was. Like, that is absolute. And sometimes we forget that God is not a puppet.
God is purposeful.
Yes, and he's not a puppet master, and he's not playing a video game in heaven and making us go where he wants us to go. Right. But he is absolutely, that's a great word. He's absolutely purposeful.
That's right.
And if we will allow our lives to be led by God, and then be prepared and know what our talents are, know what we're good at, and allow those to intersect where people have need. That's where ministry happens. That's where community, it not just happens, but it's where community and where church grows.
And to that point, I think sometimes, and you already mentioned it as well, the reason people don't just take that talent and find that place, whether it is by happen chance or purposeful. Again, God's going to place us in those situations, but we may look at someone and say, I can't lead singing like Jason Smith, or I can't, do other things like other people in the church, and so we get a little bit intimidated, and we do play that comparison game. And so we talked about conveniences early on in a podcast. But we'll go back there. And again, social media is a bad comparison game. Again, not harping on it, but just it's easy to get caught up in, I don't look like that person. I don't have what this person has. How can I ever fit in? How can I ever do this? And really, one of the quickest ways somebody can leave a community or not get involved in the community is to spend all your time looking at what other people are doing and comparing yourself to them. I told Justin this today, and just doing some research about what we were going to talk about. Justin mentioned John 21 last week and talking about Peter, and we both discussed how, Peter, there were times when he did give up, but he didn't fully quit because Jesus still wanted him and he still fought through. And John 21 is an insight to him getting back in the race, if you will. But at the very end of it, again, John writes John through the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. And so Jesus had talked to him, and we talked about it last week. Peter, talking to Peter now, I want you to, do you love me?
Mhm.
Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? And he wanted him to feed a sheep, tend a sheep, feed a sheep. And so at the end of that, in verse 19, he says, Peter, what I really want you to do, and he just says 2 words, follow me.
Yeah.
Follow me. And now we remember what Peter did. He opened the keys, if you will. He had the keys to he opened the doors to the kingdom of heaven, which is the church, which is the community we're talking about in Acts chapter 2. So he found his place. But that being said, Peter was still searching right there. And so much so that after Jesus says that, in verse 19, he tells him to do that. Then immediately Peter looks at John. Of course, John describes it as the disciple Jesus loved. He didn't say his own name there. But Peter says about John, Lord, what about this man? There he goes comparing.
Mhm.
What about John? Am I going to be like John? Am I as good as John? And Jesus answers this, and I love it. And you need to remember this. If you're thinking about you don't fit in or you don't have this place and you can't find your place because this person's this and that, Peter looked at John, said, what about him? Jesus said, what is that to you? You follow me. In other words, quit worrying about John. Just do what I told you to do.
Mhm.
Follow me. You're going to find your place. You're going to find where I need you to be because, like you just said, God doesn't do things accidental.
Yeah.
Everything, people's paths cross. Our paths cross. People in my life, our paths cross. Taylor and I's paths, and now we all work together, and we're all, again, it's just amazing when you look back on it and you see. And so what I'm encouraging us to do, if we've thought, well, I just don't have the talent of that people, that's the one talent man mentality.
Yeah.
He didn't have the 5 talents. He didn't have the 2 talents. He had the 1. So what did he do? He didn't waste it. He didn't do bad things with it. He just buried it. He didn't do anything. And of course, Jesus was pretty mad about that.
John 21 is packed with a lot of good, humorous things. Peter jumping out of the boat, swimming to the shore, and all that. But just the reclamation project of Peter, and that you miss what you just read in those last couple verses. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I've looked at that and saw that comparison, right? Of we tell our children
Right.
all the time is quit worrying about somebody else.
Right.
Like you just said, do what I've asked you to do what I've told you to do. Trust me in this. Trust
Right.
the process, whatever that case may be. We do need to certainly be concerned with people and bear one another's burdens, but when we look at our own lives and our talents and where we're trying to fit in, stop worrying about other people, right?
Right.
Like my spiritual relationship, my walk with Christ, my going to heaven has nothing to do with other people. It has everything to do with what I've done with what God has given me, and that I'm not good enough, but Jesus Christ died for me. So it's my decision, it's my judgment that I'm going to stand before God. I can't invite my mentors, I can't invite my old youth ministers or my parents or my grandparents or my friends. It's crazy to think, but our spiritual walk partly is individual. It is you do right. You do your job. But it is so much about community, of helping people along, picking people up, walking the walk, fighting the fight with people, and trying to help us all get to heaven. So I think it's just really cool because Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians 12, you're an individual member of this body. So there is a job you have to do. You need to do your job, do what, perform where you're good and fit in where you can.
Don't lose your thought, but just about that, that's an excellent point, Justin. We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So if we're not a part of a community, we need to be a part of a community. And once we're part of a community, we don't miss what Paul said and what Justin's saying. We don't have a choice.
That's right. It's the redneck way of saying it. Get in where you fit in.
Exactly.
Right? Like that's what we need to do in the church and in our communities is just find an area, find where you are good and just go be you.
That's exactly right.
God doesn't ask us to be anything different. There's this, it's probably more of a coach saying, but that proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Say
right?
that 10 times fast, but you're right.
You like the alliteration of that, don't you?
That's great.
But you can get tongue-tied, so be careful. But it is, if we are properly prepared and we know where we're good, we know where we can fit in, then when those moments of intersection come where God's providence leads us to an opportunity to help somebody, we're ready for it. We're not buried in our phones. We're not like eyes not open, trying to just shun the world and not pay attention, not see where we can help. We're ready for it.
Exactly. And just a little bit more on comparison, it just when you were saying some things made me think about this. There may be somebody right now you think, well, they have this and they have that, and I don't have this and I don't have that. I need you to remember something. Justin wants you to remember, most of all, God wants you to remember, Jesus Christ died for every one of us. It doesn't matter. And that's why we do not have a choice. He died for every single one of us, and he made every single one of us. Justin already referenced that early on about how we're knitted together in our mother's womb. Yeah. So comparison is one obstacle, but there's another one that I want to make sure that we address right here. And that is when I get a little bit older, or when my children are a little bit older, or when I figure out exactly what my gift is, it's then that I'll look for my place and I'll find my place. Let me tell you something. That's a bad way to look at it.
That's the devil.
That's the devil.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And I want you to think about these people. I want you to think about King David. Before David was king, God picked him. You know what he was doing? He was tending sheep. He was carrying his brother's food who were serving in the military. David was not sitting back thinking, one day when I'm older, I might be somebody great in God's kingdom. No, he was doing what he was supposed to do, tending sheep, obviously getting very good at a slingshot and a rock and fending off lions and bears.
Fighting with his bare hands.
Right.
That's right.
But before he fought Goliath, he was doing what he's supposed to do. And God purposely chose him. Yeah. Elisha. We talk about Elijah a lot, rightfully so. He's a great prophet. But Elisha also was a great prophet. But he was working in a field when he was called by Elijah. He wasn't sitting around thinking, now, what are my gifts? Peter, we've talked about him a lot. When he was called, you know what he was doing, guys? That's right. He was fishing. Matthew, cheating people out of taxes, right? Making money. Or I don't know how exactly he was doing it, but he was in a tax booth somewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
But the point I'm trying to say through all of this is don't spend your time wasting it. Make the most of the moment now. We talked about live in the moment. Live in the moment with your children, live in the moment with your spouse, live in the moment with everything, but live in the moment with God. He is wanting to use you now. Don't spend years wasting it trying to discover what God's purpose is when you're going to ignore the opportunities he's putting in front of you right now. So the main thing is this. We can't compare, but we also can't sit back and let Satan say, oh, you got time. No, we need you now. Justin and I are part of the community. We need you. We're rooting for you to win, but you got to get off the sidelines. Yeah. And we need you to do that.
All right. So you just mentioned David, king, Elisha, prophet, Peter and Matthew, disciples, apostles, went, martyrs of Jesus Christ, those are big names. Those are like Hall of Famer names, correct?
No question.
So let's do this. We got a character. It's a less well-known character, kind of a Acts chapter 9, kind of somebody that we don't maybe speak a lot about, but should highlight more. Okay, because sometimes we can look at those characters and be like, bro, Terry, those are really
Yeah.
great stories. But you're talking
They're
about
still
a king.
intimidating. Yeah,
Absolutely.
still
You're talking
intimidating,
about
right.
somebody I can never become.
Right.
All right. So
It's a good point.
again, they took their talents and the way that God blessed them, and they found how it intersected with people who where they could meet their needs. Okay?
Exactly.
Here's another one, and here's one that this one would resonate with a lot of us, probably maybe even more than David, Peter, and Elisha and Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
Is a lady named Tabitha or Dorcas, right? In Acts 9. And this is just such a great story because, hey,
Sure
here we go, restored by Jesus. Hey, hey, Peter, quit looking at John. I want you to worry about yourself. Follow me. Here we are later in Acts chapter 9. Peter's following Jesus. Now, there was in Joppa a disciple named Tabitha, a follower of Christ named Tabitha. Translated means Dorcas. She was, and this is perfect, full of good works and acts of charity.
Just doing what she was
doing what she was good at, right?
That's right.
So Dorcas was not, she wasn't a preacher. Dorcas wasn't maybe a great song. I mean, she was not a king or a queen. She was not a leader. She was a lady that can make clothes.
That's exactly right.
And Dorcas ends up becoming ill and dying. They had washed her and they laid her in the upper room. And this is now skipping down a verse in verse 39 of Acts chapter 9. So Peter rose and went with them. And when they arrived, they took him to the upper room. All the widows stood beside him, weeping and showing tunics and other garments that Dorcas had made while she was with them. But Peter put them all outside, knelt down and prayed, and turning to the body said, Tabitha, arise. And she opened her eyes. And when she saw Peter, she sat up. And he gave her his hand and raised her up. Then calling the saints and widows, he presented her alive. And it became known throughout all Joppa, and many believed in the Lord.
That's good.
These people were weeping and just agonizing and were saddened by the death of this person, not because not because Dorcas was the queen.
Correct.
Not because Dorcas had a lot of money, not because she had a lot of prestige
Right.
or fame.
Right.
They were impacted by her death because of how much she meant to them. And guys, all she did was make clothes for them.
Exactly right.
Right? That is somebody who is not a king. That's somebody who's not a prophet. That is somebody that was a follower of Jesus Christ who got in where she was fitting in. And she just did good. And she was full of good works and acts of charity. And that's why people like Terry, I'm sure you're the same way. I'm sure all of us are the same way. When we pass away, hope that's not anytime soon. But I hope that I have made an impact, and I'm sure you do the same, that you hope you have made such an impact on the lives of people that there are thousands of people that come to your memorial service or come to the wake or something to pay respects to you and to your family. Now, again, I hope for none of us that happens anytime soon. But I think that is the measure of a man. That is the measure of a person, is when you pass away, you can see the impact that you've made on people.
Right. I'm going to tell a personal story. Some that will have gone to Azalea City's heard this before, but did you know Miss Bonnie Harrison?
I met her a couple of times.
Okay.
So yes, but not very well.
Just to let you know the reason I asked Justin that is because he is married to her great granddaughter. And Miss Bonnie Harrison at this point in her life was what we would call a shut-in. She didn't get out a lot or anything. And so I had preached here in my teenage years and felt like that's what I wanted to do. And I just didn't feel like I did a very good job preaching one time and was very discouraged and even brought to tears. And really, my grandfather was alive and here, and he's just a giant of a man spiritually in my life, but I didn't get any encouragement from him. I mean, he encouraged me, but it didn't pick me up. You know, it's just like, I'm like, no, I must not, God must not want me to do this or whatever. My parents, other people tried to, from the church, encourage me. And so it was about a Monday, and I have no idea how Miss Bonnie to this day had heard that I was discouraged, but I got a phone call, and of course, then you had a house phone, and you looked, and you had caller ID, and it probably said Clyde Harrison or what have you. And so I answered the phone, and it was Miss Bonnie in her sweet voice. And she had just said, "Hey, I just want you to know that I believe in you, and I don't want you to ever give up." Now, listen, folks, I'm probably 16, 17 years old, probably on the verge of saying,
Done.
ministry's not for me. People in my life had told me, "Oh, pick your head up. You did a lot better than you think you did," all those things. But here's a lady who's shut in. And all she did at that point really was get her church directory and make phone calls.
Wow.
But that phone call kept me in the ministry.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. That was a lady who really needed phone calls herself. But she called me to encourage me. And here I am, all these years later, still preaching the gospel. Find your place.
Yeah.
Even if it's making clothes, even if it's making phone calls. Yeah. That to me will always resonate. And listen, circumstances change. There was a time in her life when she was an elder's wife, and I'm sure she was out and she could go. And I'm sure there was a time in Tabitha's life when she could do a little more and everything. But circumstances change. At 25, you can't do what you can at 45. At 45, your life's different than it was at 65, you know? And so things, but here's what doesn't change. Love God with everything you got.
Wow.
Follow Jesus no matter what. Love others. Go and make disciples. And use what you've been given.
Yeah. Sometimes the mission of Jesus Christ is to go and seek and save the lost. That is something like we care about mankind overall. We want people to know Jesus like we know him, so they can have the same hope and opportunity of eternal life.
That's exactly right.
Because like you said earlier, Jesus died for everyone. But there are some times that people are hard to love.
Yeah.
Like, right? I mean, we make it difficult.
I'm sure we are at times.
We make it difficult on people as well, too. But what you just shared about Miss Bonnie, and like I said, I'd met her a couple of times, and it was towards the end of her life, and and I've heard that story, you know, because it's something that obviously has resonated with you and stuck with you for a number of years later, and you'll never forget.
No, I said it at her funeral,
and that's what we said.
In fact, just real quick, and I asked the question when I preached her funeral. I don't want to get emotional.
It's okay. It's you only get emotional because it's meaningful to you, right? It's important.
Raise your hand if you've ever received a phone call from Bonnie Harrison. Every hand went up.
Yep.
Every hand at that funeral went up, and I'll never forget it.
Impact. We spend time every year when we host our senior citizens luncheon here at the church, and it's great. We invite senior citizens from
love it.
The
one of our highlights.
Absolutely, and it's fun because we'll get up there and tell some jokes, and bless them, they laugh. Even though sometimes we may poke a little fun, right? Great people that have impacted all of our lives. And you're always one to stand up there and tell them to keep their fires burning, right?
Absolutely.
To keep working. You are still making an impact. And that just proves it in the story of Tabitha and the story of Miss Bonnie, that as long as there is breath in our lungs and our heart is beating,
exactly right.
that we have a chance to make an impact. And don't let that be lost on anybody, because you just told about, again, King David and the disciple and apostle Peter and Matthew and the prophet Elisha. But then we just shared a real life story of a lady that wasn't any of that made a huge impact, not on only in your life, but others. But then also of Tabitha or Dorcas there that didn't have all this professed fame and fortune, but just did what she could to love people.
And I know I guess the point just keeps resonating with me. You just brought up such a great point with Tabitha there. But the sense of community, that there were probably times when Tabitha's like, I wish I was doing more, or I wish, I could do what I used to do, or wish I could get out more. Maybe I wish I had a little more money. And I'm sure Miss Bonnie, there were times when she said, I wish my legs worked like they used to, and everything else. And, I wish I was younger. I wish I was this, but they still were a huge part of the community and made an impact on community. Look at the people that surrounded Tabitha. They were wailing, saying, please bring her back. And what a moment. Of course, Peter had the miraculous power of the Holy Spirit. He could do those things. Right. But that's why community is such an overall theme to this Beyond Sunday podcast, is because it matters so much. And you are missed, and you are needed. And, Justin, what I need to make clear is we're not talking about, and you keep saying this, titles. Yeah. Yes, you and I wear a couple titles around here that are biblical titles, right? Minister, deacon, elder, whatever it may be. But we're not talking about wearing a title. We do not, you can't get in this and do this to wear a title. Listen, we need deacons, we need elders, we need ministers, we need Tabithas, we need Bonnie Harrisons, we need all these people. But remember, in Mark 10:43, Jesus says, whoever would be great among you must be your servant. Jesus, the greatest who's ever walked this earth, came to serve. Yeah. He didn't come to wear a title. That's why really the Jews were upset. He didn't fit their appearance. He didn't sit on some throne in some great kingdom. He was a carpenter's son, but he came to do a mission. He came to do the work. And so again, David, and listen, King David didn't set out to wear a title. Peter didn't set out to wear a title. They did wear some great titles in the Bible, but quit playing that comparison game. And that's what our whole point about this is.
All right, so we have talked about more prominent people in the David and the Peter and Elisha and Matthew. We talked about less prominent in the Tabitha and Dorcas there. And then, again, the impact that Sister Bonnie made on you. Can we talk about children for just a quick second?
Absolutely.
So Paul, in writing to Timothy, in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12, let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in what? Your speech, in your conduct, in your love, in your faith, and your purity. There is multiple instances in Scripture. You like how I'm turning towards you? Like, I'm getting into this now, right? No, I'm just kidding. There are multiple instances within Scripture where the children made not a little, but a profound impact. Okay? Huge impact. And when you think of children, you think of having less, not fully developed, not being able to maybe have their own money or jobs or transportation. They can't just drive all over town and try to spread the gospel, so to speak. But in John chapter 6, we see a really awesome story of Jesus feeding 5,000 people. And when they see these crowds, Jesus kind of tests his disciples in this of like, hey, we need to get these people some food. And they're like, you are crazy, bud. Like there's no way we're going to
get that from.
Yeah, get food to feed all these people. And we have this little boy that's walking by, has 5 loaves and 2 fish.
Yeah.
And Jesus, famously takes that, blesses it, and then starts dishing it out, right? The disciples start handing it out. And then they start, everybody eats, number one, crazy. Everybody is full and satisfied and wants no more. And then they start collecting basketfuls. Exactly. Okay, they have so many leftovers. And here's the deal, is that we look sometimes at the world and all the problems in the world, and you've told this story so many times about the little boy who's picking up starfish on the beach, and there's thousands of them, and he throws one in, and then the guy's like, what are you doing? You'll never be able to save them all. And he picks up another one. He said, yeah, but I was able to save that one. I was able to make an impact on that one. And that story rings so true. It
sure does.
It's because we can look at the world and all the problems and the war and the fighting and just the unrest.
And it's overwhelming.
And it's overwhelming. It's like, why bother?
Right.
Why bother? Because I can't change it all.
That's right.
No, I cannot.
I'm not going to make a difference.
Absolutely. But I can go make a difference in one person's life. That boy allowed Jesus to take his food. And so it proves that finding our place doesn't require us having enough to solve a problem, but being willing to give Jesus what we have in order for Jesus to be able to bless it and to create a miracle out of it. That you and I just need to go impact one or two and allow that strength in numbers to continue to rise and grow. And that's where we see, profound impact.
That little boy may have just gone fishing that day.
Yep.
Maybe he was doing it for his family. Who knows? But he had no idea.
Mm-mm.
He was just doing what he was supposed to do.
And he was willing to, and this is where we have to, and our part of fitting in. I'm not going to do it for, these boys like, I can't, I don't know these 5,000 people. He was willing to give Jesus what he had.
Absolutely.
And then Jesus does the rest.
That's right.
Like, allow you and I go plant and water seeds.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we're commanded to do as Christians.
Mm-hmm.
And allow God to give the increase.
Justin, I'm putting you on the spot here because I don't really know. How much would an NBA game of basketball cost today?
What you mean?
Like just a basketball.
Like an actual
basketball?
An actual
game used, or not a game used, but a basketball the NBA players play with.
$50.
All right, $50. What is that?
75, but yeah.
75. What's that basketball now in Michael Jordan's hands?
Oh my word.
He's a billionaire today, right?
Yes.
Football, about the same price.
Yeah.
NFL football.
That's right.
Tom Brady's hands.
Unbelievable.
Baseball, what, $10, $12 maybe? I have no idea.
Yeah.
In whoever.
Anybody.
Shohei Ohtani's
Yeah.
hands, right? Here's the point. We might think, it's just a $10 or $12 basketball or baseball or $50 football or whatever it is. That boy thought it's just a couple fish, but he put it in the hands of Jesus. Whatever your talent is, whatever our gift is, to us, it may not mean anything, but when we put it in the hands of Jesus, when you put a $50 basketball in the hand of Michael Jordan, you make billions. When you put a football in a $50 football in the hands of Tom Brady, you make billions. I keep wanting to say Shohei, when you put it in his, when you put anything, and this tops all of that.
Yeah.
When you put anything in the hands of Jesus, it makes a difference. It makes an impact.
We don't ask, and again, we're for you. We want you to win. We want you to win. Like, we don't ask for everything you have. God doesn't ask. I mean, he asks for you to give him what you have, right? I tell kids this all the time. When we're about to start football, it's crazy, right? So we're still here in August and it's hot. But this. I cannot stand when coaches say give 110%, right?
That is your pet peeve of all pet peeves.
Impossible. Okay. It's impossible to give more than what you are capable of giving. Anyways, I tell kids this a lot is, football tests you. When you're playing in the heat, you're playing in the third and fourth quarter, you're tired, you're exhausted. You may not have 100% of your fully healthy self.
Right.
But whatever version you are, give 100% of that.
Give everything you
right?
got.
And so I don't have to be everything to everyone.
Absolutely.
But and I may not be having a great day. I may not be the best version of myself on a Tuesday. But what I owe to God, what I owe to my family and friends, what I owe to God's people, God's children, is to give them 100% of what I have.
That's right.
All the time. And again, it could be, we should go back to Tabitha again, it could be just a little service project. It could be fixing a hole in someone's sweater. It could be fixing a leaky faucet, but it can be so impactful.
And today, you might get up and you got 40% of your 100% self. Give 100% of that 40%.
Absolutely.
Right? That's what you're saying.
That's exactly
Whatever you have, let's do it all for the glory of God. Now, y'all know I'm a wrestling nerd. I know that's silly, but in wrestling terms, when it's about to get to the end, the referee will say, "Hey, it's time to go home."
Yeah.
So I'm going to the go home, right?
Okay, sure. Let's go.
So I think you get it. But how do we do this and go beyond Sunday? And Justin's hitting a little bit of it right here. It is important. We need you on Sunday. We need all of you on Sunday, and there is a part. But let's be real. On Sunday, there's just a few people going to stand on stage.
True.
There's a few people going to do an active part, as we would call it, in the worship service. Now, that doesn't mean we don't need everybody participating,
Right.
but a few people that will stay. But guess what? Monday's coming. And you're going to go to a classroom, or you're going to go to an office, or you're going to go to a construction site, or you're going to go to a hospital, or you're going to be in a locker room, or you're going to be in a gym, or you're going to be on a football field, or you're going to be on a basketball court, or you're going to be somewhere. You're going to be in your neighborhood. You're going to be at your kitchen table. Think of the ministry opportunities there. Your place in the kingdom is not confined to what happens between the opening prayer and the closing prayer. We've got to go beyond Sunday.
Can I share 2 stories real quick? And
It's yours,
these
brother.
are not personal stories. I mean, I could find personal instances from folks here at Azalea City, but these are just generic stories. But let's talk about that going beyond Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've got these written down here, so I'm going to read them. Okay. But imagine a man, okay, within our congregation that maybe somebody works construction, maybe he does maintenance, or simply just a handyman. He may think, and we've had 2 men the last 2 weeks that stood before us on Wednesday evening and gave a short devotional and did a great job with it, but those 2 guys are not ones to think like, oh, this is me.
Right.
I want to do this every Sunday or every Wednesday, okay? He may say, I can't preach. I'm not comfortable teaching Bible class. I don't sing. I don't really know what my role is or where I can fit in church. But then he learns that an elderly widow in the congregation has a leaky faucet, has a broken step, has a door that won't close properly. She can't fix it herself. Maybe she doesn't have the money to pay for a professional to come and fix it. So suddenly we have this intersection of somebody's talent and somebody's need. Okay? God's given this man a talent, and this lady has a need. So here's this intersection. The skill with his hands, plus the tools, plus the experience, plus a couple hours of his time, intersected with helping someone who cannot help herself. When you get the intersection of those 2 things,
yes,
it's ministry.
100%.
Correct? It's not,
100%.
it may not be a budgeted ministry within the confines of Azalea City Church of Christ or any other congregation or church, but it is ministry.
That's exactly right.
He shows up on a Saturday morning. He fixes the problem. He refuses payment. He sits with her at her coffee table for 20 minutes, maybe sips a cup of coffee. Maybe before he leaves, he has a prayer with her. And he might get into his truck. He might walk out that door that he just fixed and drive away and say, you know what, I just fixed a door. And that lady may close that same door that he just walked out of that he just fixed and says, you know what, God still cares for me. So there's your ministry. Strong. All I did was fix a door, and then she remembers that God still cares for me. God has not forgotten about me. There are people out there that love me. Yeah. It's instances like that, and that is a made-up story, but it's not a made-up story.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right? It happens all the time.
That's powerful.
That's right.
That does so much more, Terry, that does so much more than a sermon on Sunday morning, correct?
100%.
We talk all the time, and I say that. We haven't mentioned
it.
It's a living sermon. Go be that living sacrifice, Romans chapter 12. Go be maybe the Bible that someone has never fully read, right? Go just be Jesus to people. Go be his hands and feet.
That's right.
Here's another one, because I can't leave the ladies out in this. Because we have an awesome set of ladies here at Azalea City that will show up and show out in their cooking.
And give 100%.
Thank you, not 110. Even though if they had 110, they do it, right?
That too.
So a woman loves cooking. It's nothing unusual for her to cook for her family, her friends at different gatherings for many, many years. Then a family in a community loses a loved one, loses a house to a fire, loses everything that they have, just as in a moment of need. She can't take away their grief. She can't take away their pain. She can't solve their problem. She can't answer the question to why it happened, right? But she can cook.
Right.
So she takes dinner. Maybe it's like we do have this all the time where ladies have a child, and boy, we ain't leaving it to the husbands to cook dinner every night, right? So we do these meal train from time to time.
I can't cook cereal.
Whew, buddy. So she makes dinner. She takes it over to their house. Maybe in this situation of them losing a loved one, she just hugs them and says, I love you. And it's proven by her generosity that she cares, and she lets them know as she's leaving, hey, I'm praying for you.
Mm-hmm.
Cooking just became her ministry. It's the fact and the idea that you don't have to possess the ability to solve someone's biggest problem. That young boy in John chapter 6 didn't possess the ability to solve all of their problems. With the 5 loaves and 2 fish, he may have been able to feed a couple of people if it was just on his
a couple
what he had, right? You just need to be willing to use what you have to make their burden a little bit lighter.
Justin, I know I said it's all yours, but man, I just can't get this off my mind now that you've told that story. Here we go. I'm going to ask for forgiveness instead of permission. But Lindsay Cameron, who is one of our sweet members here,
yes,
goes to an everyday facility where she interacts with people that has a young lady there that is her friend. Well, that young lady, her mother and their family, they lost everything in a fire. Well, it impacts Lindsay, and she encourages her mama, Julie, to reach out. So Jason White is the elder we have here over benevolence, and so she calls Jason. Jason does his due diligence. We give a little bit of a token. I mean, we'd love to give thousands upon thousands of dollars, but to help them. Last Sunday, they were here.
They sure were.
And Lindsay did not set out to go to that school to help minister to this young lady. But because she was where she was supposed to be, and her mama had a heart that wanted to do something, and because Jason is such a diligent person, and because this church is so giving, who knows? Who knows where that's going to go? But again, it goes to that story. All they're doing is what they're supposed to do. If we will every day get up and not maybe this is not the prayer we should pray. God, find that perfect place to do that perfect thing to that perfect person that you want me to do. That's a very hard place to find. Maybe our prayer is this: God, wherever you place me today, help me be faithful to you.
Use me.
Use me.
Can I add? Can you kick it back to me real quick?
It's yours.
Is it
I'm
mine
done.
again?
I'm done.
Is it mine again? We have to ask ourselves these questions. What has God given me? What does somebody need? Where can I serve? That's it. So I'm closing with this. You don't know this yet. I found this. Well, I knew this, but also got a video today from my wife and my youngest child, Callan, who is 21 months old, can talk a little bit, says a few words. Really, like when I'm holding him, it's like, Mama, Dad, get away.
Man.
Dad, get away from me. I can't stand you. I want my mama. So before she took him to school today, she sends me a video. He has these little Toy Story characters. They're tiny, a couple inches tall. And he's playing with them. And she says, I got to send this to you later. But she says, all right, now, hey, where's Bo? Where's Bo? Pick up Bo. And he picks up Buzz Lightyear, right? And I'm going to tell you why. You guys may not know, but here at Azalea City this past summer for our VBS, we did a Toy Story themed. You have a friend in me. And Bo, Terry's not so little son, dresses up as Buzz Lightyear. Now, Callan was terrified. Yeah. But instead of calling him Buzz, He associates
Buzz.
your Bo with
Wow.
Buzz, and so now Buzz will always be Bo to him.
Wow.
Okay, this fits, and I need to share it. It fits because Bo is 19 years old.
Yes.
Okay, Bo is 19 years old and a sophomore in college,
Mhm.
and he's making an impact. Bo doesn't have a lot. I mean, he has a great family. He has a dad. He's all right. He has a great mother.
It's great mother.
But Bo
That's right.
doesn't have a lot. Bo's not well established, so
Right.
to speak. Right? He's not
Right.
King David. He's not the Apostle Peter.
Right.
But he's more in the realm of the Tabitha. And like, what is Bo good at? Bo's good about being awesome to kids.
Mhm.
And Callan, at 21 months old,
Wow.
he's made an impression on. Now, certainly he's made an impression on so many more people,
Mhm.
kids and adults.
That's
But I
it.
thought it was worth sharing as the fact that because of who Bo is and that Callan loves Bo outside of his Buzz costume, is that now Buzz Lightyear is Bo Cagle.
Yeah. And that story, when Bo hears it, will give him the extra motivation
To continue.
to continue.
Yep.
I guess what I'm saying is tell those Bonnie Harrison
Mm-hmm.
stories. Tell those Lindsey Cameron stories. Man, I'm going to cry.
It's good. Ask God to use you, right? It is get in where you fit in. It's not about fame and it's not about recognition. It's about us trying to link arm in arm
Mhm.
and walk our spiritual journey together so that when I stand before God in judgment, he's going to look at us and say, "Well done, thy good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a little. I'm going to allow you to be faithful in my kingdom
That's right.
forever." And
That's right.
and that's what it's all about, is we're trying to live beyond Sunday in order so that we can live beyond this life.
That's exactly right.
And that's all we want to do. That's what we want for you. Guys, we love you. We're thankful. Thank you for tuning in. Please continue to send feedback, topic ideas, what you want to hear.
Subscribe.
Subscribe, like, share. We want to serve you in this. Thank you guys for your attention today.